The Fade has a very interesting setting, but not one that I think you've written about before. Where did the idea of that come from?
The Fade is set on a moon called Calespa, where the suns have basically become so fierce that they have made life on the surface impossible. So humanity has moved underground into these enormous cave networks, which were left by the rockworms, which were these ancient colossal beasts that kind of carved their way through the planet back in the day. And civilization has therefore developed without sunlight and so forth, but there's still war. There's a very limited amount of space down there, and people have to fight for it. The protagonist is a character called Lorna, who's an assassin, a spy, a thief, a kind of jack of all trades for her master. She's also a very devoted wife and mother. And at the start of the story, she is captured and thrown into an inescapable prison far behind enemy lines. Basically has quite a tough time, but resigns herself to the fact that she's going to die there. But while inside the prison, she discovers evidence of a plot which involves her son, which is eventually going to result in her son's death. And from that point on, she decides that the only thing she can possibly do is break out of this prison, make it back across enemy lines, and somehow thwart this plot before her son falls victim to it.
For the setting, were you inspired by previous sort of subterranean world novels, or did you have anything in your mind when you were setting it up?
I don't think I was inspired by them originally, although I think I started thinking of, I think it's the old Piers Anthony book, Thong. That started playing around my mind when I was doing it, but a lot of it was based on the idea of various, I'd been to various caverns and so on in Greece with some incredible crystal rock formations and things, and it just seemed a very exciting kind of backdrop, and I like the idea of having a very closed environment for the people to work in. It's the way that they had to think very three-dimensionally in the way they fought the war, that everything was walled, everything was contained, which became a big metaphor for the story.
Did you start off with a setting and then find characters placed in it, or did you have characters sort of in your head already that needed somewhere to be?
No, this was when I started with the setting and then got the characters. That's what I tend to work like. A lot of the time in my stories, the settings are very much part of the plot. The plot comes out of the setting, as it were. And this one, as I say, the fact that they were underground and away from the sunlight and always in a position where they were trapped or confined in some way was a metaphor for the main character's struggle, really, in the end.